Buongiorno a tutti, mi chiamo Charlotte e oggi traduciamo un testo in inglese dall'italiano. So, hello everyone. Today we're going to translate a text from Italian to English. È un estratto di un libro che si chiama Regole d'oro per una vita ricca di senso. È un libro che è stato scritto di origine, originalmente, in tedesco, ok? Ma questa è una traduzione che vedremo in italiano, ok? E poi cambiamo il linguaggio in inglese. So, what I was saying there is this is a book that was originally written in, I believe, in German, and la scrittrice, the writer, si chiama Bettina Lemke. Okay, so that is something I will just write down here. I think I've written it here. Lemke, scusa. Okay, Bettina Lemke. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is how her name is written. Bettina, cute name, Lemke. I think that's how you pronounce it. So I saw this somewhere online, this lovely little text, this extract, un estratto, an extract, and I thought I'm going to concentrate on that so that we can translate it into English because it had a lovely meaning. It's a book that talks about Ikigai. So I think that's how you pronounce that. I haven't actually read this book, but I've read a little bit of the background. So it's talking about this this Japanese approach, a way of living, basically. And as far as I understand, Ikigai, so actually I have it written in sort of Western letters, Ikigai. That's a concept or an approach to life which gives you a purpose for living, okay? So having a purpose, which I think is very important as you do anything, have a sense of motivation, a clear reason for why and how you're doing something. So we've got a text here, we'll zoom in, I'll read it to you, and then we'll translate it, okay? So let's have a little look. So I'll read it to you first. You'll see a little bit of it behind me here. And let's zoom in a wee bit so that you can maybe read what I'm reading. So this video, as always, the first Tuesday of every month is for my Italian Club members. So Italian Club members, you will get this document in a PDF, a digital PDF, which of course it's digital, that I'll email to you later today. In this we've got some exercises, we have this text, which I've written out and I've underlined, I haven't underlined, I've put in red all the verbs, infinitive, gerund forms, that kind of thing, conjugated forms, so that you can check that you understand them, and that gives you the main structure of each sentence actually. And then I've got some questions, so some fun pictures here which will just reinforce, make you think about some vocab that I've mentioned or that appears in the text. In which line do you find the corresponding images, okay? Or to which line does each image correspond? There you go. Then there's a link to this video, and there's also a little link to tell you how you can find out more about this Ikigai approach, okay, which I think is nice. So here's the text. A che cosa serve conoscere il senso della nostra esistenza se non facciamo che correre A che cosa serve conoscere il senso della nostra esistenza se non facciamo che correre da una scadenza all'altra, anticipando mentalmente le successive, guardando il cellulare ogni 2 minuti e lasciando dettare il nostro ritmo interiore dalla cadenza dei messaggi. Blah, 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 blah. That was a long sentence, wasn't it? So, a che cosa serve? A che cosa serve? A che cosa serve? So, that bit there, what is the point? From the verb servire, which can mean a few things, you know, but in this context, it means what's the point, or what's the use? So, let's have a look if I can find you couple of examples. Yeah. So if you look at the verb servire, you'll see that there's lots of different translations. So the first one that comes up on wordreference.com is to be necessary. Okay, a che cosa serve? So it's an IRE verb in the third person, which this is. In the present tense, it ends with an E, okay, as most IRE verbs do. Okay, like finire, dormire, venire, etc. In the third person, they have an E at the end, generally, of the conjugation. So this is agreeing with the verb that follows, and the verb that follows kind of acts as the subject. So knowing the meaning of our existence. So what is the point of, or to what end is it necessary, if you like, is it necessary knowing, to know the meaning or the sense of our existence? What's the point knowing the sense of our existence if, se means if, non facciamo che correre da una scadenza all'altra. Let's just look at this. Non facciamo che. Non and che looks like it means, well, facciamo is from fare, which can mean to do or to make. So what's the point of knowing the meaning of our existence if, now non and che, or non plus facciamo, looks like it means we don't do or we don't make. But because you've got che following, you've got non and che wrapping around the verb, if you like, that takes on a meaning of its own, which means if we do nothing but, or if we only run from one scadenza, una scadenza, that's a deadline. Let's see if I've got another colour pen to maybe make it a bit easier for you to see. Scusa. Un attimo. Let's see, where's my blue pen? Oh, these are all black. These are all black. I'll get a red one. Ecco, scusa. If you haven't noticed, you probably will have now that I've moved away. I've got a little bump here. La pancia che sta crescendo. A growing stomach there. That's my little baby that I'm expecting in a few months' time. So that's why I've been getting bigger. So let's see. Una scadenza vuol dire deadline. So what is the point of knowing? Conoscere is to know, like to know a fact, or to know about something. There's a difference between sapere and conoscere, but as long as you know that it means to know, plus a noun. What is the point of knowing the meaning of our existence if we only, or we do nothing but run? We do nothing but. Non facciamo che. I think we should call that to do nothing but. Run, so you follow it with the infinitive verb, nothing but correre, to run. Da means from, and a could mean to or at. Okay, from and to. From one deadline, una scadenza, all'altra, so to another one, and altro, another one, agrees there with la or una scadenza. So all'altra is a contraction of alla, okay, because altra is another feminine deadline, okay? It's a feminine noun. So alla is contracted down with a little apostrophe to all'altra, okay? From and to another. So what is the point of knowing the meaning of our existence if we just run from one deadline to another? Anticipando, this is like a gerund form, so the present continuous. You take a verb, anticipare, are verb, and you take off the are ending, and then you add ando, and that's how you create that kind of present continuous or gerund form. That's sort of used like an adverb. Anticipating, mentally anticipating, le successive. Successive, so successive, the ones to come, the following ones. So what's this talking about? Anticipating the following what? Le successive scadenze. Anticipating the next deadlines, the deadlines to follow, to come. So successive is a noun, but it's agreeing with the plural, the feminine plural of deadlines, le scadenze. This is a very long sentence. Here we have guardando il cellulare, così. Guardando is from guardare, so that's to look at or watch. So it's, in English it would be looking at. Looking, so again we've got the ando ending. You take are off the infinitive verb, take it off, and then you add ando. For ire verbs and ere verbs, you change the gerund ending to endo, dormendo. So you'd have parlando, speaking, guardando, mangiando, eating. Let's have a look. Partendo, from partire, leaving. Ere verbs, let's see, prendendo, taking. Okay, so if it's not an are verb, then you would replace the ending of the verb in its infinitive form with endo, ando and endo. So looking at, in Italian you don't need to follow guardare with the preposition a. You just guardare il cellulare, looking at your cell phone or your mobile phone. That's the same as telefonino, okay, your little phone. In English you'd say a mobile phone, in Italian, in American or Northern American English you'd probably say cell phone, a bit different. So looking at doesn't require the preposition a. Il cellulare, so C and an E is a ce sound, cell phone. Ogni 2 minuti, every 2 minutes. Ogni 2, so ogni means every. 2 minuti. E lasciando dettare, okay. So lasciando, you probably notice that is, it looks like and it sounds like another gerund form, another present participle if you like. Lasciando dettare, allowing to dictate. So dettare means to dictate, like una dettatura, like a dictation. Dettare is to dictate something, either when you're literally reading something out and you're writing it, someone's writing it down, or when you're telling someone what to do. Okay, so what's the point of knowing? A che cosa serve? Knowing the sense or the meaning of our, della nostra Esistenza. So when you've got that possessive adjective, la nostra, or il nostro in here, it's because the author is talking about everyone, including herself, as a group. Okay, so this is written in a very inclusive way. You'll see il nostro, la nostra, and other the other iterations of that noi form, possessive, that means belonging to, our existence. You'll see other ones in here, but you also might see impersonal, the third person singular of a verb preceded by si, and that's an impersonal way of talking, and it kind of means people or one must, one should, we should, you should. All of those are ways in English of talking impersonally. Sorry, my notifications are coming up there. So we get a nice mixture of the noi form possessive adjectives, la nostra, il nostro, etc., I nostri, le nostre, and this impersonal. So look out for those, okay? So what's the point of running from one deadline to another, mentally anticipating the next deadlines, the deadlines to come, looking at your phone every 2 minutes, and allowing, lasciare can mean to let something go, or it can mean to allow or permit something. When it's followed by an infinitive verb like dettare, it means allowing something to dictate. Il nostro, our, il nostro ritmo interiore, interior or inner rhythm, rhythm like music rhythm, or how something works and functions. That's to do with kind of frequency as well, that word. Allowing our inner rhythm, these things, allowing our inner rhythm to be dictated to by da, I don't think you can see that, let's go down a little bit. Okay, quite complicated, very, very long first sentence. So, so what's the point of mentally anticipating the next deadlines, looking at our phone every 2 minutes, and allowing our inner rhythm to be dictated to by dalla cadenza. Now, a cadenza can be a cadence, that's like normally the drop in, I think it's like a drop in pitch sometimes if you're talking music, or if you're talking someone's like the cadence, the up and down of their voice. That's how I think it can be interpreted. But here it can also mean the frequency, okay, so kind of also to do with movement and, like I mentioned, rhythm. It's kind of got a musical sense to it, but also the frequency of messages. So it's a good question. What's the point knowing the purpose of our existence if we're basically slaves to technology, deadlines, messages, notifications, things that frankly shouldn't matter that much? So that's a good question, and there's lots of, dei messaggi, la cadenza dei messaggi. So un messaggio, double S, double G, becomes I messaggi in the plural, messages, and di, which means of, plus I, which is the article that means the in front of masculine plural, becomes they, of the, okay? And dalla is the preposition da, which means from or by, okay? To have our life dictated to by the frequency of messages, for example. Da plus la cadenza is a feminine noun, da is a preposition, they combine to become dalla. And that's an articulated or a combined preposition where the preposition da meets the article il, la, lo, l apostrophe, etc., I or le, and becomes a slightly different word. That happens all over the place in Italian. So what's the point of knowing all this stuff? What's the point of knowing the purpose of our life, our existence as humans, as a human, if we are slaves to things that don't matter? Okay, that's a good question. Let's go up and have a look at the rest. Se, so se means if. Bit different to, it sounds similar to the to say, which is a slightly longer word, which can be the number 6, or it can be the to form. That's an English to, but I mean the tu form of essere. Okay, so it's a similar sound, but not quite the same. Say can mean you are, from essere. Okay, I just realised you can't see that. E is very small. Oh, eccolo. You know what I mean. Se. Different to say, okay? It's slightly different, but sounds very similar to an English ear. Se consentiamo, here's a verb. Consentire, to allow or permit, or even to acquiesce to something. So if you acquiesce to something, that might be one way of seeing how this verb works. That's similar because it's followed by a. Consentire a qualcosa, to permit or allow or to acquiesce to something. Okay, so al chaos. Okay, if we concede to, if we acquiesce to chaos, il chaos, so we've got a plus il equals al, that's another combined preposition, e alle mille esigenze della vita quotidiana. Whew, it's a long sentence, isn't it? Here we've got another combined preposition. A plus le equals alle. Okay, just add in an extra L and it becomes one word. To the, followed by something feminine plural. If we concede or acquiesce to chaos and to the 1,000, un'esigenza or l'esigenza is a demand or a need or a request, that kind of thing, but here it means demand. To the 1,000 demands of della is di plus la, okay, equals della. Of the, okay, in English we wouldn't say of the, we would say of daily life. Daily life. La vita, life. Quotidiana, daily. Okay? If we allow, if we concede to chaos and to the 1,000 demands, thousands of demands, if you like, thousands of demands of daily life, di farci dimenticare l'importanza di un buon equilibrio interiore, lo stress, la tensione e la semplice spossatezza fisica ci impediranno di percepire il nostro Ikigai, per non parlare di tradurre nella pratica alcuni dei suoi principi. Okay, we're getting there. So, if we concede to chaos and 1,000 demands of daily life, di farci dimenticare, if we allow these things to make us, farci from fare, plus ci, farci, to make us, forget. So that's like a causative construction. Make plus object pronoun, like make us, make me, make you. Farmi dimenticare, make me forget. Farti dimenticare, farvi dimenticare, to make you or you guys forget. So this is farci because it's including everyone in the audience as a group, okay, which is what we need to do because we're all humans. If we allow chaos and 1,000 demands of daily life to make us forget the importance of a good equilibrio, can mean equilibrium, balance, okay, an inner balance. Un buon equilibrio interiore. So if we allow our inner balance to be destroyed or amended, tipped if you like, by the thousands of demands of daily life, okay, then this is what's going to happen. Lo stress, stress, English word there, keep the English word as it is, S-T-R-E-S-S, and we put lo in front of it because that's the article you use in front of a masculine noun that starts with an S plus a consonant. Okay, lo stress, li stress. If it was stresses, that article would be li. But because it's a borrowed English word, you keep the word as it is, li stress. So these things will have an effect on us, okay? And these are the things, and these are negative things. Queste sono tre cose negativi, o negative, scusa, perché tre cose. Lo stress, stress, don't like stress, do we? La tensione, okay? La tensione can also be, what's the word? We're talking electricity, voltage. I think it means voltage. So, but here we're talking about, you know, like physical, mental tension. And la semplice spossatezza. La semplice spossatezza fisica. Spossa, two S's, and then tezza, two Z's. When you put two Z's together, you get a Z. Spossatezza. Un attimo. Just getting my pen. So, here you see how nouns can be masculine or feminine. Lo stress, la tensione, la semplice spossatezza. That means exhaustion, depletion, exhaustion. Must be other words for that as well. Physical exhaustion. These three things, uno, due, tre, together become and then continued in the sentence, they become the subject of the remainder of this part of the sentence. Hence, you have this verb in the future tense. Impedire means to prevent or impede. Impedire. This is the future tense. Iranno at the end. Impediranno. They will impede or prevent. So that's just the future tense in the loro form, because it's taking lo stress, la tensione e la semplice spossatezza fisica together as a subject. Okay, so it's loro, they will, these things will impede us or prevent us. Prevent us, I think, is better. Prevent. But it does look like the word impede, so that might help you to remember. G means us, and it precedes the verb. They will prevent us from, right, impedire qualcuno di fare qualcosa. They will prevent someone from doing something. And in this one, they will prevent us from percepire, from perceiving. Perceiving. In English, that's the sort of ing form. Il nostro Ikigai, our reason for being. Okay. So, if we give in to chaos and to the thousands of demands of daily life. If we acquiesce to chaos and to the thousand demands of daily life, if we allow them to make us forget the importance of good inner balance, stress, tension and the simple physical exhaustion will prevent us from perceiving our own meaning for life, or life meaning, or purpose. Okay? Per non parlare. Per non parlare is not to mention, or without speaking about. Not to mention. So it will also prevent us from. Had to get down quite far then, didn't I? Per non parlare di means not to mention. So these things might impede us or prevent us from perceiving or knowing or remembering or even becoming aware of our own reason for being, our own purpose. Not to mention, therefore, it might impede us from tradurre, means translating. Let's see how else I might translate that. Yeah, translating into practice, putting into practice. Let's keep translating now. Seeing as I am a translator, and it is quite a useful one. Nella pratica, into practice, putting into practice, alcuni dei suoi principi. So, stress, tension, and physical exhaustion might prevent us from perceiving our own purpose, or might even prevent us from putting into practice some of its principles. So the principles of your purpose, the principles of your reason for being. Okay, I know it's a little bit wordy, and seeing it on on a flip chart like this might not be as clean cut as seeing the translation, but if you want to become a member of my club, then you can get this handout. I'm happy to send you one with comments included like that for your ease of reference. That would be a Word document, or you can go through this together and see the text in person and do your own work on it, create your perfect translation. So that's pagina 2, page 2. I'm going to read through it again, okay? So, a che cosa serve conoscere il senso della nostra esistenza, se non facciamo che correre da una scadenza all'altra, anticipando mentalmente le successive, guardando il cellulare ogni 2 minuti e lasciandoci dettare il nostro ritmo interiore dalla cadenza dei messaggi. Se consentiamo al chaos e alle 1000 esigenze della vita quotidiana di farci dimenticare l'importanza di un buon equilibrio interiore, lo stress, la tensione e la semplice spossatezza fisica ci impediranno di percepire il nostro Ikigai, per non parlare di tradurre nella pratica alcuni dei suoi principi. Bit dense, isn't it? But if you can follow this, it's true. These things can impede us from seeing our purpose or from sticking to our purpose. But if you know what your purpose is and you know what your objectives are, you are more likely to stick to them and to achieve them or to live by them, you know. Okay, let's look at the next one. È importante. It is important. È importante. When you have è importante, and it's followed by a verb, it's important to do, it's important to see, it's important to say. That's nice and easy because you don't need to use the subjunctive. If it's è importante che tu stia brava, it's important that you're good, it's important that you're well behaved. If you're not saying it is important that followed by a subject, it's important that you do this, it's important that we go there. It's important that they eat this. If you're not following it by a subject, but you're just saying it's important to do something, to go somewhere, to say, to write, to whatever the infinitive verb is, then you can avoid the subjunctive. È importante ricordarsi. Okay, so ricordarsi happens, it is an infinitive verb, but it's got si at the end. That's because it's a reflexive verb. You could remember that this is reflexive by translating it in your mind, as to remind oneself. Okay, that's why it's reflexive. Ricordarsi di. It is important to remind yourself, or to remember, to rallentare. Okay, rallentare. What does that mean? You might have seen that on un segnale stradale. Okay, you might have seen it actually. Like triangular or square? Circular. You might have seen that on a road sign in Italy if ever you've driven there or been like on public transport on the roads. Rallentare means to slow down, so it's quite a useful one. And then you might think of the word lento or lentamente. Okay, slow or slowly. It is important to remind ourselves or to remember to slow down. A intervalli regolari. To slow down regularly, at regular intervals. Intervalli regolari. Okay, so that's very similar to the English. And as per usual, adjectives that agree with the noun, well, they do agree with the noun, so the endings will be plural, where the noun is plural. They'll be masculine or feminine, where the noun that precedes them is masculine or feminine, etc. Usually they follow. They follow the noun. Sometimes you might see a noun precede. Sorry, you might see an adjective precede a noun. For example, and you'll see that often with very common nouns like buono, okay, or buona. And what happens, in fact, not to forget the importance, so this is line 5 if you've got the sheet. Un buon equilibrio interiore, a good inner balance, or a good inner equilibrium. So you will see adjectives like that, sometimes preceding the noun, but that's just when they're very, when they're very common. Un buon equilibrio. Okay, like that, the good balance. But also you might see them when there's an adjective following, already an adjective following. So interiore means inner or internal, could mean interior, but inner or internal, I suppose. Balance, a good internal or inner balance. So in this case where you've got buon, for example, we lose the O from buono, which is the masculine singular version of the adjective, which means good. But because it precedes the noun here, it tends to be shortened down to un buon. And you'll also see that with bello, un uomo bello. Uomo bello sounds a bit weird to me, but you could say, okay, you could say è un uomo molto bello, okay? For example, he is a very handsome man. But if you say he's a handsome man, I think you're more likely to hear è un bel uomo. Okay, so here, slightly different sentence, because we're not modifying bello with something like molto, very handsome. We're saying he's a handsome man. Bel precedes uomo, and it's also shortened down to miss off an L and an O. Okay, so if you see buon or bel or gran instead of grande, it's probably because it's preceding a noun, and it's a very common adjective, and it's also probably in the masculine form. Okay, but otherwise an adjective will generally follow the noun, like here, intervalli regolari, regular intervals. So it's important to remember to slow down, rallentare, regularly, basically, at regular intervals. And here we have another reflexive verb in the infinitive. And to take, prendere is to take for yourself. Yeah, to take for yourself, to take little breaks, basically. Oh, piccole e grande. Grande. Surely that should be grandi. I'm just going to check the original text here. Piccole, grande. Somewhere on my phone I've got the document where I am. This is an interesting one because una pausa changes to pause with an e at the end in the plural. Piccole is the plural feminine adjective small or little. But the grande is an adjective in the singular. Okay, so I'm just going to double check on my phone where I've taken a screenshot of this document. It should be grandi. Scusa. Ah, sì, grandi. So there you go, that was just an error on my part. But here you might be able to see where that is in the original text. I wonder if you can see it just there. Okay, so I can amend that before I send it to you, but that's also the useful thing about doing some study of text, because I was just writing this out this morning before I took my daughter to nursery, so I'm surprised there aren't more errors than that. But if you see any errors, let me know, because I am a human and I do make errors. But luckily we saw that one. So small, little and large, small and big pauses. So grande with an e at the end is the singular. So in order to be plural and to agree with the plural pauses or breaks, pause, it needs to end with an I. And here they also precede, because they're common nouns, they precede the noun break. Right, now let's see. Where do we get to? How are we doing for time? We've got... Oh, it's quite a long one. This is quite a long video, but hopefully you'll find it useful. Right, okay, I'm just checking some words here. So, it is important to remember to slow down at regular intervals and to take big and small. We'd probably say it in English, we'd put big first and then small after. Big and small, or small and big breaks. Besides, right, now this is the bit. Oltre a is like besides or as well as. Pure is to put down or to lay down, to put down. Le basi. Now, this is like an idiom. Laying the foundations. Laying the foundations. Doing the groundwork. We're talking like building stuff. Putting down a good base. Putting down a good base. All of that means putting in place what you need to hold up the things that go on top. Okay? Laying a good foundation, or laying a foundation per un equilibrio sano. Okay, so this is not un buon equilibrio, but un equilibrio sano. Sano being the key word there, the operative word. Sano means healthy. Healthy. So, take regular time and breaks to slow down, lay the foundations for a healthy balance. And a più livelli means multi-layered multi-layered. I like this kind of stratified metaphor that's appearing. Multi-layered. There's probably another way of saying that. Soltanto così means only thus, or in this way. This word così can mean loads of different things, but I tend to think of it as meaning thus or in this way. For some people, they just wouldn't say the word thus. I use it quite a lot. You might see it translated in other contexts as hence. Okay, so it's a useful word. Only in this way. Now here's an impersonal structure. Si può, can one or may one. So that's from the verb potere, to be able. Lottare means to fight. Okay. Lottare contro. Oh, there's that bad word. Bad word that everyone knows. Okay, so take time, regular intervals and breaks and stuff. Slow down regularly and take big and little breaks in order to lay the foundations to be a healthy, have a healthy balance, okay, and a multi-layered balance too. Only thus, or in this way, can one, can we, can you, depends how you want to translate this, fight against, lottare contro, okay, that means against, lo stress, again, it's lo instead of il because it's a foreign word and it begins with st, and by default it's singular masculine, okay? E altri fattori energivori. Now this is a word I wanted to check, because when I wrote it down I wasn't quite sure that it was the word I meaned. Energivori, yeah, okay. So that will mean enervating. That's a word which I always thought sounded like it means giving energy to something, but in fact it means exactly the opposite. So something that takes energy away from you is enervating. So that's probably one way of let's put the Italian in. So when I check something, I just check on wordreference.com because I find it very reliable. Right, what's going on here? E-N-E-R-G-I-V-O-R. Okay. Energico. Dove si chiama? Energy intensive. There you go. Energy intensive. Something that's demanding. And other demanding or energy intensive factors, se non addirittura patologici. Okay, let's have a look. If not, yeah, if not pathological factors, yeah, they could be having an effect on your body and your health. So only by doing the things that I mentioned above, making time, taking breaks, slowing down, laying foundations, can we fight against the pathological or energy intensive factors such as and stresses, and leave space or allow or to leave. Lasciare can mean to leave something behind. Ho lasciato a casa le chiavi. Okay, oh, I left my keys at home. It can also mean to allow something. Okay, so allow or leave space, or in English we might say to leave room for something, and leave room alle cose belle. Alle cose belle. Okay, right, I'm going to have to stand like this because that's a bit easier. Alle cose belle della vita. La vita. Okay, now weirdly the word la vita can also mean a waste, you know, someone's waste on their body, but here we're talking about life. So so only by making some time and giving yourself some breaks can you lay the foundations for you know, a balanced a healthy inner balance. Okay, all this stuff I think we know, but generally people don't, in our culture, I don't think they live by this Ikigai, purpose to your life kind of meaning. I think we do give in to stresses, we do live by deadlines, and we do often allow our minds and our bodies not to have the time and the space and the rest that they need. Anyway, allow space for the, or to the, lasciare spazio alle cose belle, the beautiful things of life, and to our Ikigai, to our purpose for being. Not long now, guys, not long, just one more page, and then finiamo. So, the last thing is, ecco alcuni consigli. So, I consigli, in Italian, the word advice is plural. So, in English, it's just advice. It's not advices, it's just advice, without a number, if you like. Although technically it functions singularly. So, ecco alcuni and consigli, even though it looks plural, it just means here is. Ecco means here is. Eccomi, here I am. Eccolo, here he or it is. Eccola, here she or it is. Eccoci, here we are, okay, etc. Ecco alcuni consigli per una buona cura di sé. Una buona cura di sé. Here we've got buona coming before cura di sé. Curare is to look after or to heal, right? Or to care for. So it looks a bit like the word care. Cura di sé. Sé is the self. So that means self-care. Just realised I've gone away from my red pen. But cura di sé is self-care. So here's some advice for good self-care. Atteggiamento, che dovrebbe essere una delle nostre costanti priorità. I couldn't agree more. So, atteggiamento can mean two things. It can mean attitude, or it can mean your behaviour. So, we could take it just to mean attitude, or we could take it to mean behaviour, or both. I like the idea of both because it kind of kills two birds with one stone, but they're quite closely linked. Your attitude towards life, people, things will dictate your approach. So, your approach will therefore dictate your behaviour. So, attitude is key, is basically what it's saying. Atteggiamento, which should be or must be, dovrebbe essere, is the conditional tense. It should, from the verb dovere. The nice thing about verbs like dovere, that's the third person singular in the present conditional, they can be followed by an infinitive. So should or must be, dovrebbe essere. Sometimes you'll see that kind of contracted down to dovrebbe essere, or sometimes you'll see it with the E. This isn't a piece of formal text, so they've kind of kept the full form in. Which should be una delle nostre, le nostre priorità, one of our priorities. So, la priorità is one of these words with a little grave accent on the A at the end, and that means you have to pronounce it like in a clipped way, right? It's quite short, like libertà, fraternità, priorità. Also, this is a noun, so in the plural, these tend to have, like una priorità becomes due priorità, or le priorità. So, le nostre means our, and the ending e agrees with the feminine plural gender of priorities, because it's plural, even though it looks like it might be singular because it ends with an A. And le at the end of delle means of the. That is the article that would normally go in front of le nostre priorità. But here we've got a preceding adjective. So, costanti. It ends with an I rather than an E, as you might expect with an adjective in the feminine plural. It ends with an I because it already has an E in the singular. So, costante means constant, ongoing. Okay, so if it was la nostra costante priorità, our constant priority, singular, but in the plural, le nostre costanti priorità. Okay, so there's a few endings there which might not look like you would expect if you're kind of a beginner, but if you're intermediate or a bit more advanced, you might understand the concept of those changing from one thing to the other. So, thank you very much for listening and for watching this, if you have watched it all the way. Bravi! So, some advice per una buona cura di sé. Atteggiamento. L'atteggiamento dovrebbe essere una delle nostre costanti priorità. Look after yourselves, and I hope you find your own Ikigai. Alla prossima volta. Ciao!